If you were thrilled by the towering inferno, if you were terrified by earthquake, then you will be scared shitless by the Samuel L. Bronkowitz production of That's Armageddon.
This is not actually Armageddon. This is the first time the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams would spoof the disaster movies. This is the sketch comedy Kentucky Fried Movie.
Rams plagued by fumbles as earthquakes rock Los Angeles. Film at 11.
It is a collection of unrelated satirical sketches, mostly born from the Writing Trio's live show.
Managed to get a hold of some videotape, which my dad borrowed from a friend of his. And so we just thought we could make spoofs of TV commercials and maybe put them and combine them with a live show, because Jerry also knew our friend Dick Chudnow, who was another TA at Madison, and they had a performance group which was improvisations, and so we combined that with our TV commercials, and we just made a stage show.
The show was called Vegetables, but the collective were known as the Kentucky Fried Theatre. It was a huge hit, and the writers wanted to wing their way into movies, and they had an idea for a movie parodying the airport disaster movies they used to laugh at late at night.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
John Landis was in his early 20s at the time, and had worked in almost every department on a film set, before making his own movie, a spoof of the B-grade monster movies of the 60s, called Schlock.
Well, how do you do, sir? What do you think? Well, my God, is that a gorilla suit? Well, this is fantastic. Is that some sort of fraternity stunt? Well, it's ingenious. Well, no, you're for real.
So I went on Johnny Carson to promote the show, and they showed clip. It showed Schlock. And David Zucker saw me. And that Saturday came in to play, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I saw a kid, he's our age, and he made a movie." And Bob Weiss said, "John Landis?" And he went, "Yeah." He said, "I know John Landis." So they said they wanted to meet me because they wanted to make a movie. So I met with Jerry, David, and Jim, and Bob, and they were very funny, very nice guys, but they said, we want to make a movie. I said, "Great, do you have a script?" And they literally went, "A what?" "A screenplay." "No." I said, "Well, you need a script." They go, "Well, what's that?" I said, "It's, a form that you tell the story, you write like a play, you write down, so you have..." And they said, "Well, what's the form?" So I said, "Wait a minute." So I went to my car, because I had copies of An American Werewolf in London, which I'd written in 1969. I always carried it around trying to get it made. I said, "Here, follow this form." And they were nice guys, and we got along fine. And then I went and saw their show, and some of it was very funny, and it was very risque, but it was very funny. And then about 5 months later, they called me up. "Hey, we got a script." "Great." They give it to me, and it's called Kentucky Fried Airplane. And I read the script, and it had some very funny jokes, but I knew the story. Crew gets poisoned, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, is this 0 Hour?
That script, which was a prototype for Airplane, was deemed to be too close to the source material for Landis's liking, and he suggested making something based on their stage show, and that's how the movie got off the ground.
Despite millions of dollars of research, death continues to be our nation's #1 killer. Hello, I'm Henry Gibson, speaking to you on behalf of the United Appeal for the Dead. Although so far there is no known treatment for death's crippling effects, still everyone can acquaint himself with the 3 early warning signs of death. 1, rigor mortis. 2, a rotting smell. 3, occasional drowsiness.
The media is the film's comedic target, taking wild swipes at movie trailers, advertisements, and even breakfast television, to name a few.
And if you're a Gemini like me, well, you can expect the unexpected. I'm Joyce Wilson, your
The whole appeal of a movie like this is its outrageous nature. As a result, between the jokes there is a lot of bare flesh, the likes of which I cannot show here.
Cleopatra Schwartz, of course, was, not that it doesn't make any sense if it's not an answer. So, okay, go ahead, you answer.
What Sherry meant,
jet lag.
What
It's
Sherry
the
meant
jet
to
lag.
say was that
Yes.
he enjoyed the Cleopatra Schwartz commercial the most because it involved nudity. And
Yeah.
in fact, those are the days that when Jerry actually showed up on the set.
Yeah, I used to call in ahead of time and see if there was going to be any nudity.
Were there going to be any breasts today? Oh yes, sure, Jerry, come on in.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to lie about it.
I remember the day the girls came over for bridge club. I was so embarrassed because of lingering odors.
Fish for dinner last night? Phew, aren't we still smoking those cigars? Christ, did a cow shit in here?
My favourite section, if I had to pick, is the spoof of courtroom television.
Would you please state your first name?
Sheldon.
Mr. Grunwald, what does that exactly mean?
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Sheldon.
It has all the literal-minded jokes that would become the calling card of the three writers.
Mr. Grunwald, in addition to your occupation as a spool, is it not true...
Spoon.
Oh, yes, spoon. Spoon. Of course, spool doesn't make much sense. Mr. Grunwald, in addition to your occupation as a spoon, is it not true that you're a driving instructor?
No.
Then it is true
Yes.
that you're not a driving instructor.
No.
Your Honor, I object to this line of questioning.
Overruled.
Very well, then. I'd like some time to go over my briefs.
Please.
They're fine.
The longest segment, and the one that probably comes to mind first when people think about this movie, is A Fistful of Yen, the Bruce Lee spoof that runs a full 30 minutes. The physical comedy is really silly, and there's a lot of really good jokes in here. And even though I don't think we should judge works from the past by the standards of today, this section does show its age.
This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time with feeling. Better.
There's a lot of Kentucky Fried Movie that doesn't really hold up, I think.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of it that does, you know, and so I'm kind of like, take the optimistic point of view that gee, it's great that so much of it does hold up.
To complain about the more insensitive material would be to miss the point of the film, which is to show no reverence for that which you take seriously. John Landis is a very good choice for director. He keeps everything moving along, and his simple way of shooting scenes prevents anything interfering with the jokes. The tone is actually very similar to his first film, Schlock, which is to say absurd situations played straight. And oh look, there's the man himself. The problem that befalls this film is the same problem that dogs almost every sketch movie, and unfortunately it is inherent in the form, which is to say, there's no plot. So after about an hour of, in this case, some funny jokes, but no connection to a main character or an ensemble, it makes it quite tiring. So anything that comes towards the end of the film just doesn't seem to land as well as the stuff at the start. And that's not necessarily because the sketch isn't funny in isolation, it's just too much brain stuff and not enough heart stuff. Technical terms.
I mean, the script girl on Kentucky Fried Movie, the continuity person, is Catherine Wooten, who was also on Animal House and now just finished Blues Brothers with me, very talented. And at that time, she was the girlfriend of Sean Daniel, who is now the vice president of Universal Pictures, but at that time was, hey, kid! You know, he was a production person.
The movie was not critically lauded, but it found its audience, and almost everyone who worked on the film would go on to make bigger and better things. John Landis had Blues Brothers and American Werewolf in London in his future, and the writers, Jerry and David Zucker and Jim Abrahams, would go on to make Airplane and Top Secret together and direct Naked Gun, Hot Shots and Ghost separately.
At last, the greatest album of love songs ever recorded. You'll want to share them with someone special.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
Sung by the man who turned a personal affliction into a recording career, Don No Soul Simmons.
10 years after Kentucky Fried Movie, John Landis, along with 4 other directors, Carl Gottlieb, Peter Horton, Joe Dante and Robert Weiss, collaborated on another merry bag of sketches in Amazon Women on the Moon. It has some laughs in it, but it's a much more uneven affair, possibly due to it being the work of many hands.
For 131 years, this great institution has amassed what many consider to be the finest collection of art anywhere in the world. And now, it can all be yours. We've lost our lease. That's right, everything must go. From the old masters of Europe to the conceptual artists of today's Soho.
In some territories, most notably France, this film was renamed Cheeseburger Film Sandwich and sold as a sequel to Kentucky Fried Movie. But I've got no idea if that helped or hindered the box office.
The popcorn you're eating has been pissed in. Film at 11.
I started out my writing career as a sketch writer. During that time I developed a love for sketch movies, in spite of their inherent flaw. And I like Kentucky Fried Movie, but despite the wealth of talent behind the camera, it's not a film that gets talked about as often as perhaps it should. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, you can buy me a coffee at Ko-Fi. There's a link in the description if you want it. If you can't afford that, then why not watch this video about a very different sketch movie that you have almost certainly never heard of. I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.